Stat padding exposed. JuJu Watkins caught stat padding in 50-point win as she tries to break Clark records. The women's college basketball world has been abuzz with accusations against star player JuJu Watkins of the USC Trojans. Watkins, who is widely considered one of the top players in the country, has been accused of stat padding in recent blowout wins for her team. The controversy began after USC's last two games, in which they won by margins of 50 points. In those contests, Watkins put up eye-popping stat lines of 34 points in 31 minutes and 40 points in 32 minutes, respectively. This sudden jump in production has raised eyebrows, as Watkins had been struggling earlier in the season, averaging just 21 points per game. Critics have pointed to the fact that Watkins continued playing heavy minutes even with her team comfortably ahead, suggesting she was padding her stats rather than letting her teammates get more playing time. They argue that Watkins was chucking up shots down the stretch to inflate her scoring numbers. "It's just not a good look," said one anonymous coach. "When you're up 50 points, your best players should be on the bench resting." But Watkins was still out there launching shots to get her points. That's textbook stat padding in my opinion. However, Watkins and her supporters have pushed back on these accusations. They argue that Watkins was simply trying to find her rhythm and get back on track after a poor shooting start to the season. JuJu has been struggling with her shot, so these blowout games were a good chance for her to get some confidence back and find her groove, said USC head coach Dawn Staley. She wasn't out there chasing stats. She was just trying to get back into a rhythm and help the team win. Watkins' own perspective echoes this sentiment. "I know the stats might look a little inflated, but I promise I was just trying to get into a rhythm and find my shot again," she said. "I'm not concerned about individual records or stats. I just want to help my team win games." The debate over Watkins' motivation speaks to a larger issue in women's basketball, where star players are often criticized for pursuing individual accolades over team success. There is a perception that some players engage in stat padding to boost their numbers and draft stock, rather than focusing on winning. However, Watkins supporters argue that this is an unfair double standard. They point out that star players in the men's game are rarely subjected to the same level of scrutiny, and are often celebrated for their individual exploits. "If this was a top men's player, no one would be accusing him of stat padding," said one analyst. But because JuJu is a woman, somehow her trying to find her shot and get her team a win is seen as selfish. I think that says more about the biases in our society than it does about JuJu's character. Ultimately, the debate over Watkins' motivations may never be fully resolved. What is clear, however, is that she remains one of the most talented and compelling players in the women's game today. As the season progresses, all eyes will be on Watkins and the Trojans to see how they handle the scrutiny and continue to push towards their goals. One thing is certain: whether you believe Watkins was stat padding or simply trying to regain her form, her performance in those blowout wins was undeniably impressive. And as the stakes continue to rise, her ability to translate that production into wins will be crucial for USC's success.